Hello everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology. I have your weekly astrology for June 25th through July 1st. And so this week, well, there's a lot going on, but I'll show you with the charts. We have Mercury moving into Cancer and Neptune is going retrograde. So anyway, let me just swap out cameras here and show you the charts. Big hugs beforehand though. Hold on. Okay, what a week we have coming in. So you remember, well, if you don't, I'll remind you, but this grand trine going on here, this grand water trine from the sun to the south node, bringing in new growth, more graceful ease in whatever we're trying to grow, whether it's our gardens or our souls or everything in our lives. And then this other trine back here from Saturn, which brings in, so notice how Saturn's at 7, the sun's at 3. So as the sun moves forward each day, we're moving into an exact point here. So this is strengthening. It's an applying aspect that is strengthening. And so Saturn's here testing the boundaries of what we're trying to bring in. So there are some spiritual laws in this that I wanted to bring through. And that's especially true because Mercury's getting ready to conjunct with the sun. There are so many things that are like cooking here. So I wanted to talk about the fact that as humans, we all have this like automatic reaction to look at the effects in our lives rather than the causes as to, what we're experiencing. And when we do that, it's hard to experience peacefulness. And Saturn's here in Pisces wanting to bring in that peaceful spiritual connection. So if we can just remember that in the core of our beings and in every cell of our bodies, we have, this like quantum field of universal cosmic intelligence, and it's all alive and well. We're doing just fine in the core of who we truly are. We already have it all within us, right? We already have everything we're ever going to need in order to create what we want and, well, what we need and more of what we want. So we already are all that we could ever want to be. If we could just, grab a hold of that with our minds, we are already everything that we would ever want to be. The problem is we're usually coming from this really limited perspective. Now, that's bringing in Saturn, which would be any sign. It doesn't matter that if it's less tight and crusty and solidified and rigid when it's in Pisces, right? Saturn is more Capricornian. Saturn rules Capricorn, form, structure, things that are here that we're experiencing. But Pisces is here saying, hey, what if, what if you're connected to everything? And we don't need these rules and limitations anymore. I'm hearing Pink Floyd in my head as I say that. Take down all those bricks in the wall, right? So if we could open up and access all of our wisdom, all of our power, and especially our love, then we could let go of this fragment of false belief that we, incarnated. Every lifetime we just bring in a fragment of who we truly are. And it's our life task, it's our life purpose to heal those limitations and bring in our spiritual essence. And bring that through as much as possible as we can in each lifetime. So I really think this sojourn of Saturn in Pisces, and especially its retrogradation, and I'm sorry, my computer program, for some reason or another, they did some updates and they're beautiful, but I noticed the fonts and glyphs are bigger, but we don't have the little RX there anymore. And that's okay, I'm fine with that. I just have to tell you that whenever you see the degrees, the degrees and the minutes in red, that means that planet is retrograde. And remember, the nodes, when they are retrograde, doesn't mean a thing. Doesn't mean a thing at all. So anyway, so back to Saturn and Pisces. I think that this is a really excellent, a major opportunity to do this deep inner work, to remember who we truly are. It's our life task to work and bring out and release onto this earth the power and truth of our love. This is the power of Pluto transits supporting our evolving souls. So if we can think of this process as releasing what is already inherently within, then it comes easier. Things will come to us easier, and it's much easier for us to just be real and authentic. And that's the power of Pluto here at this anaretic last degree of Capricorn. So the message there is, at least for me, I feel like it's something about as we become our natural selves and get to know that we have our own unique spirit self with our unique personality. And the more we know that and know that part of us never dies, then maybe we can relax more and have some more fun. And most of all, to not be so fearful. And then on another note, with Saturn retrograde in Pisces, it's a beautiful opportunity to let go of any old, crusty, rigid thought forms, old thought patterns of the way things are supposed to be, according to rules written thousands and thousands, eons ago, which, by the way, are probably most likely, I would say, either or both, either mistranslated or written on purpose to control the masses by some power-hungry, narcissistic overlords, and many of us we're already there. We've broken through all this stuff, but you're still going to be moving through life. We're still going to be projected upon and gaslit by those who want to hold on to that old archaic way of life, like who's in control and who's not. Well, we're in control of our own lives, but if we don't exercise that power to vote and power to control our own reality, then we're going to be constantly feeling like a victim. And that would be the downside of Saturn and Pisces. If we're in victim mentality, we have to work to get out. That is the work. So, I guess the holding on, it's probably just nothing more than old fears and the need to adhere to safety guidelines. And that, with this connection, notice how Saturn's at 7 degrees and Jupiter's at 8. Well, Saturn in Pisces is trying to dissolve those old boundaries, those old forms, those old thought, structures or patterns. And Jupiter's here in Taurus wanting to stay safe. We're wanting to expand safely, because remember, Taurus is always about safety and self-preservation. But it's also very connected because it's ruled by Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is all about pleasure and unification. And Venus is over here in Mars and Leo partying down, and we had, the hookup, we had the mashup of the moon. Remember last week, the moon was over here, and then it kept getting closer and closer, and pretty soon it was right in the middle of Venus and Mars. I remember looking at the chart that day going, oh, and there was quite a bit out there, the news is certainly lively. But anyway, back to this building going on here, because we have to always remember Saturn and Jupiter are the builders of the zodiac. We're in those principles of the three cosmic forces of expansion, Jupiter, and then contraction, right? And stasis, which would bring in the mutable planets or mutable signs. So what's happening is we expand, we want something more, right? And we have to remember that we have that inherent, juice coming through, that effervescent, life-affirming, sparkly, golden, teeming power flowing through us constantly, if we can just grab a hold of it, rather than grabbing hold of Saturn and going, oh no, I got to stay safe over here. Well, as long as we're kind and loving and wanting all the good things for everyone else that we want for ourselves, and as long as we're doing our best to support each other, how can it be wrong, or how could it be bad, right? If it's coming from love. The thing is that some people don't care about what's loving. It's like, no, it has to be this way. Well, we have this transit of Saturn right here, sextiling Jupiter for just one more day, or I'm sorry, one more week. It's through July 1st. So these two builders, with this opportunity to build something solid and spiritually sound, is here for us for the rest of the week. And even though the aspect then would be more of a separating aspect rather than a building, it's still going to be there, because the openings happen and we grow a little bit. Even if we don't fully get into it, we still have that vague memory of something better, something bigger, something more. So I think that's a thing to be really cognizant of, as well as the fact that this Saturn trining the South Node, this is going to be there with us to help for quite some time. We have Saturn to the South Node until July 27th, and then soon after that, or no, actually I think it's July 17th, the axis. This axis here, see how that's at 1 degree? Then it'll drop down to 0 and then 29 degrees, and we'll be in the axis of Aries to Libra. So there will be a lot more relating and coming forward and instinctual awareness. So for now, the dirty politicians and the corrupt judges, they're holding on. But the money scandals, they're coming through. We're seeing everything, and it's getting more and more. There's just no way they can hide, is the thing. It's just the hiding is, the ability to hide it is not possible anymore. So this aspect of the architect here, yes, we will lose this one leg of it, but we're going to still be seeing what people were trying. So the combination here with Pluto and Saturn in both retrograde, and Saturn being ruled by Saturn ruling Capricorn, and all of this math equation here to me spells out that everything that's happened in the past is going to come up and out. And it's there for us to vote upon, to exercise our free will and say whether or not we want that anymore, and to write our senators and write our House reps and tell them what we want, and that we'll keep voting for them if they do these things, but if they don't, we won't, right? I noticed that the Democrats this week have been really kicking ass. They're trying, they're doing their best. And so even if something doesn't go through, when a bill is brought to the House floor, and if it's opposed and it can't even, if a vote can't be taken, that still goes on record. And if something's brought to and there is a vote, then there's definitely a record on who voted yay or nay for it, right? Or who didn't even bother to show up, right? I mean, that's just, yeah. So we get to see who's earning their keep and who's not, and how they stand, what their stand is. So anyway, moving forward, let's see that. So this is a really important, that trine there, and then notice that Mercury here is trining the South Node. So Mercury rules the news, with Mercury being the natural ruler of Gemini and Virgo, and Mercury squaring the moon for today, we can expect, and Mercury's also squaring Neptune over here. So Mercury is down here at this T-square point. It's like, I think details are going to come out as to people who are trying to pull the wool over our eyes and people who have been lying, and we all know who I'm talking about. He lives over there in that little dumpster back on this corner of my desk. But anyway, lies, subterfuge, and the details coming out. And Mercury is right in here with the power of the sun to bring much more of a spotlight onto what has gone on in the past, like I talked about with this grand water trine, and what we want to grow in the future. And then the moon rules the public, so the details are coming out. Now, in your own personal life, if you happen to be a person who doesn't care at all about politics, then what this spells out for you in your personal life, or for each of us anyway, personally, brings through the ability to know that you can always learn something new in order to grow, and you have all the wisdom and experience of the past to support you, and you can lay this new foundation of just about anything in the world that you can imagine. I mean, you have to conceive it in your mind first. And of course, with the moon in Virgo, you'll be going back and forth like, oh, but I can't do that. I can't. Well, but what if you could? What would it take? Are you willing to do that work? Are you willing to do that research and learn, right? We're talking Scorpio and Gemini here. And then what you learn will help you open up. And then again, you come back to the past and go, oh, you know what? I can go a little deeper and I could figure that out. Or let's say you're digging deep to try and figure out these false beliefs that have been holding you back, right? Like maybe you've just never been encouraged when you were growing up. And maybe no one ever said, hey, you know what? You're really great at this or that, right? What happens when you're not mirrored in your genius or your brilliance or your unique way of moving through life, you start to, when you grow up, you just take yourself for granted. And you might have these old underlying resentments that like, what about me? And that brings in Chiron, cooking her way, or Chiron cooking its way towards Eris. I mean, there's a good enough conjunction right there. And or close enough, I should say. And especially true when both Chiron and Eris, the feminine courage to go for what you want, with it being in Eris, Eris and Aries, and then this double trine over here to Mars, and Venus is almost exact. Mars is what do you call separating aspect, moving away. But all last week, I think, probably had, well, I don't know if you guys did, but I certainly felt like I had a lot to do and I really wanted to get it done. And it was just the challenge to, make sure everything lined up right with deadlines, major deadlines. But I was okay with it because it's something I really wanted to do, all of these things that I want to do, or have already committed to and don't mind doing. So anyway, I'm wondering if you guys had a week like that too. And then also, creativity keeps coming in because you find out new ways to do things and easier ways to be more efficient. With the moon in Virgo, we will be making adjustments, especially today. Look how we have this exact right here. Quincunx, in conjunct quincunx, whichever way you want to call it, it's a 150 degree. And what it does is it brings in it's kind of hard. Most people don't have that peripheral vision to see like what's over here, I mean, I do, but I'm just kind of a weirdo. My eyes kind of go out to the side like a fish, I think, sometimes. But you can feel, what's on the sides, what's on both sides. And then, so when something starts coming into that peripheral vision, you notice, and the moon does that. The moon helps us to feel and notice something and connect to something, and then from there we respond because we're intuitively getting that something's there. It's like antenna. So, and again, the moon rules our home and the public mood. So we're noticing things, and then we're being more courageous because of that. So we're tracking patterns, we're understanding what's going on, we're getting the details in that ripe degree of 25 degrees of Virgo, right off, starting off the morning on Sunday. And so, again, making adjustments because now something's in your vision. So this will be another news day, I'm sure, or a day that maybe we're learning something that we didn't have the time to learn over the week or throughout the week because we were so busy. But then again, when you look at the legal scholars and professors and people that want to talk to them on the news, they've had all week to bring in all this information, and I think something will be coming to a head because, boy, has it been a hot week. Let's see, what else? You can see how Uranus, we've got this double square going on here. And so Venus and Mars are both we're coming into it, so we're building the tension. The square is a tension. And as Mars moves forward, and Venus, Venus conjunct Mars is also really good as well because we're wanting to connect, we're wanting to open our hearts, we're wanting to speak up. We're wanting to share. I mean, Mars moves us. Mars motivates us. Mars gets us going. Mars moves energy. Mars activates things. Mars is very enthusiastic, but it also sometimes just wants to win and wants to be seen and heard. And if they don't care about being understood, but they just want to put their shit out there, coming from these hard, rigid rules of this is the way it's got to be, they're not going to have the unity that Venus and Leo can bring in. Because Venus and Leo wants to love everyone and unify. And Venus is all about uniting people together in harmony. But if you've got these rigid rules around what's right and wrong, and you can't just open up to another person's perspective. See, that's the thing. Whether or not a person thinks that one thing's right and one thing's wrong, and this is the way you got to be, and blah, 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 coming from religion, I suppose. The important piece that most humans just don't grasp and really need to, in my opinion, is that we are living on an equal opportunity planet. And people are not meant to be perfect, but they have a right to exist exactly and naturally just as they are. And none of us should have opinions about how they live their lives, as long as they're not murdering people or stealing or, breaking these man-made laws and spiritual laws. As long as they don't need to be locked up in order to learn a lesson, we should let them be. Because who the hell are we to say, no, you got to be this way, right? But with Mars and Leo together, or Mars and Venus and Leo together, things have been hot. People have been out there just saying things about others as if it doesn't matter, and like that they're somebody with I don't know. I should just let that go, but that irks me. And so that's the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong to me. What matters is that they are allowed to be who they naturally are and just be happy with that. And because it's unique, it's so nice to see someone be their unique original self or unique self in whatever way that they're bringing through. So, Uranus square Mars could bring up those issues. And Mars will move on, and these two, this conjunction with Venus will not last too long. But this square here is going to last through July 5th. Remember, Venus has been in this tension field from last week, and it's going to continue through to July 13th. So, this next 2 weeks, it's not the time to get in fights with people online. It's not the time to impose a rigid belief system about the way, you think it's supposed to be. It's a time to just let go and just love people right where they are and send them lots of love, thinking with the mindset that it's okay, we all grow and we all live and learn. But, some people are probably going to, especially with Jupiter and Saturn in this connection here, and Uranus in Taurus, just think of how everyone wants to be safe. No one wants to have a mass shooting just because of a pride parade. No one wants to go through something that is so shocking. And because Uranus, it's our planet of soul shocks. It's our planet of something that could just distort, and it can be shocking. It can be a big sudden change, but it can also be a discovery, right? It can also be a flash of insight, like those aha moments. But this tension field here kind of worries me a little bit. So I just want to warn everyone to be cognizant of what could be going on, and really trust your instincts. Really trust your instincts. I was out yesterday doing a bunch of errands, and decided I'd drive through this car wash. I love the kids that work there. Well, they're kind of like kids to me, but they're grown adults. They're young adults. And as I was driving up, I heard one of them say, "Yeah, mass shooting, whatever." And as I'm putting my window down, I'm like, "Were you guys okay? What happened?" And the one told me that she learned of a mass shooting, and she had thought about going to that place in Washington State, like somewhere around the Gorge or whatever area. But she said no. What did she call it? Mother instinct? Was it? She had a special name for it. Mother something. Mother angel or mother instinct. She said, "I knew not to go." And then sure enough, she heard that something, that there had been a mass shooting. So trust those feelings. Or if you're too tired for some reason, this is one of the ways that our guides and guardian angels work with us, is they'll try to get us going in a different direction when we're about to go into something that, we don't need to experience. So there's that. But anyway, back to this conglomeration. I think I'll just say one more thing about this, and then I'll move on. It's possible that some people who want to hold on to these rigid, beliefs about how things are supposed to be, they're just going to be losing friends, because it's really just an act of self-sabotage when it comes to letting go of controlling other people's lives, and their refusal to figure out things for themselves, right? Because This speaks a little bit to Virgo energy when it's gone in the wrong direction. And part of the issue with our Pluto and Virgo generation, where on the one side it's a generation for healing, but on the other side, if the energy isn't used to go inside and to heal things, for yourself, because it always comes back to the self. When there's a refusal to think for yourself and to go inside and heal, what the energy does instead, because the energy is always there and it has to go somewhere. When the energy is always directed outside yourself onto others, as in they are doing this and they and da 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 da, all of that. If you're constantly in that mindset, or even distracted, constantly doing things that are distracting, then we're in the negative aspect of Virgo, because Virgo is all about divine order, and the divine order is always to go within and get your own life in order and take care of yourself. And when you do that, then you embrace that beautiful polarity of Pisces, and you can, there's the letting go and the surrender. But when and that's definitely on the table today for Sunday. But we have to be careful of one of the biggest challenges with Virgo is that trying to be perfect, right? And the fear of chaos, if there isn't some perfection, then what happens also too with the Pluto and Virgo generation, we have to be very careful about avoiding issues, right? Because maybe they think that they'll get lost in it. Like if I go there and really feel it, I might get lost in it. That's not true. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So, towards the end of the month, next month, we're going to have Mercury. It's going to make it all the way. It's going to make it quite a ways. We'll have Mercury in Virgo by then. So, but for now, it's going to cook up into Cancer, and it's really important to use this month to think about all the ways and all the things that you want to grow. Just remember, Cancer has everything to do with your home, your roots, your emotional security, the past, and all the ways that you can be independent. And I'm saying that because I'm merging the connection here to Eris and Chiron in Aries. So, and they're both cardinal forces, cardinal movement-oriented, growth-oriented, instinctual opening, that type of energy that's ambitious and initiates, starts a new beginning. When we go in that direction towards growing this new beginning that is better than it's ever been, then we're headed in the right direction. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. And of course, we've got Pluto squaring the nodes. That's until I think December 7th. Yeah. And also Eris involved within that. This is happening together too. That happens through till Christmas. So I'll keep naming that every week. Oh, and the other thing is the Neptune sextile Pluto here. We have that until October 22nd. So we're going to have that ease and grace in our lives to bring through our natural self and manifest from that. Manifest from who you truly are. Oh, you know what I forgot to talk about? The moon here trining. Oh yeah, look at that. The moon is trining, and it's an applying trine. So remember, the trines are grace and ease. There's a connection there. So the moon connecting to Pluto will help bring in that power and ground it in. Virgo and Capricorn are both earthly energy. And then, let's see, what else? There was this trine down here to Uranus. Ooh, yeah, check that out. now this is the moon's in a separating trine, but this is all earthly energy. We have the three earthly elements here, or earthly signs: Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So if we can decide on the things that we want that bring us more pleasure, and we connect with those values, and we've got that connection to the heart, and then moving forward with Venus and Mars and Leo there, then we also have the moon that can step in and say, I think I can figure this out. And then there's more and more self-empowerment. So that's great. Okay, so then on Monday, I clocked it at 5 a.m., we have Mars here in the exact square to Uranus. So there could be Monday morning, it's very possible that, something happens and we're talking about it. And on another level too, with Neptune here in Pisces, and see, this is a perfect example is where connections that are in the blue that, it looks like it's an easy thing or it's an opportunity and grace, all of that. Connections are connections, and it doesn't always mean that it's that good. Because this Neptune here, sextile Pluto, that is definitely connected to, I'm doing this reading on Thursday, and I don't know yet if is there 4 or 5 people in that, that submersible that has gone down to look at the Titanic. I know they've gone past the 96 hours or whatever. They're really worried about them now, and I don't get a good feeling about it either. So that's a sad thing that is probably going to be on the news this next week. This coming week here, maybe even over the weekend. So, but, I do believe we never die. It's just not the way I would choose to cross over, is a thing. But we do, we have portals open here from the spirit world, and then to there's a misuse of power there. And I saw that one of the guys' names, that Stockton Rush, it's like, it's always in a name, You've got Bill Barr, that barred justice for how many years. And then you've got this guy named with the last name Rush being, they calling him out for rushing through things rather than doing things safely. So anyway, I'll stop that, and I'll just, send prayers ahead of time. And especially for their family. Well, for everyone connected. So, okay, let's see. Today, June 26th, Monday, we can see that we still have the grand water trine going on here, and that's nice. But again, this does connect with that that tragedy. Yeah. Let's see. We have the moon coming in an inconjunct. So even though we have the square from Mars to Uranus, and bringing in probably something that is a little shocking, in our own personal lives, it might not be used that way at all. It can definitely be used in the form of getting things going that you love, and exercising your creative self-expression. And because you've woken up and figured out what really matters to you most, and you've made those distinctions, and now you have been and can certainly truly own yourself in a new way that you feel very secure within, and you have your principles, and you're moving forward that way from your inner being, working from your inner being. And of course, all the other transits that I spoke to earlier definitely, support that going forward. And with the moon today, there's, I should have highlighted that in, but see how we have this 150-degree aspect here. So this quincunx here coming from the moon, and then this other quincunx coming to Saturn, and then this sextile here from Jupiter to Saturn. This is an aspect of, it's a yod. It could be called a finger of fate or a finger of God, whichever way you want to describe it. And so the moon coming into an exact, so as the day moves forward, as the hours go by actually, this will get tighter and tighter. And this is really good for relationships that help you expand and you help them expand, for that, valuing the other and really grateful that they're in your lives, and you guys, you have each other, whatever it is, partnership, relationship, whatever, co-workers, whatever it is, it's something very beautiful and will help you establish a deeper spiritual connection. So this is, whoever's born on this day, it's actually a pretty good chart. Could actually be someone very powerful. That's actually pretty cool. Let's see, what else? The other aspects are the same for the week. It's just the moon. There's maybe some action that will be taken because there's that wanting to connect and expand. And then Mercury here in this same inconjunct quincunx up to Pluto. Again, this is like powerful communication and powerful. There's something powerful that comes through because we're learning something new, or we have just learned something new. Powerful messages, powerful ways of negotiating something. and with the moon there, man. So maybe someone who is born this day would be a very powerful negotiator and very, very good at relationships. Okay, the moon is also squaring. See how the moon's at 6? So I clocked it at 5 a.m., but let's say it's like 3 a.m. We've got the moon square. It would be about exact, squaring the sun, moon square sun. So at one end here, we're wanting to be safe and make sure things are done. It's like, imagine you're going to go on a little bit of a day trip and mom's saying, no, wait, not yet. I don't have everything together, because she's wanting to make sure she's got it all, because she's like the Girl Scout. And the kids are like, oh, come on, can we just go and have some fun? Well, can't we just be free and take it as we go? And she's like, no, because you might need water. Right? Cancer. And they're like, oh, just, because Libra's an air sign, right? Libra is all about, partnerships and making decisions, but they might want to be pleasing someone else that they're hanging out with and just go. Meanwhile, mom's like, no, hold on, because we have to make these adjustments. And who's in charge? Well, depends. So okay, so let me go ahead and move forward on to Tuesday. So Tuesday we have Mercury in Cancer. That comes through exactly at 5:24 p.m. And now the way we think and the way we communicate and what we're learning about shifts. Now it still has this inconjunct to Pluto, and so the adjustments are they'll be even, well, they'll be changed. The adjustments will change based on protection, based on security, based on understanding the past, based on, we're not going to let go of being safe is the deal. But with the moon in this opposition to Chiron, and then later on it'll be Eris, That brings in, there might be some wounding that comes up. The moon might trigger some wounding, some old relationship wounding that says, oh, wait, what about me? I wanted to be first. I wanted to be first. Why? You know, and probably the Libra person would be on the other end and go, oh, I'm sorry, okay. Or they might want to play and go, well, I got her first, you know. There are, you know, a million different ideas I could, not a million ideas I could have, but there could be a million different ways that could play out, depending on, you know, the people. So on a quieter, more inward, you know, way of looking at it, which, you know, if you're more introverted or you're more of, in Myers-Briggs, if you're more of an INFJ or INTJ and it's more about always going back in. And we definitely have Saturn in Pisces, which is a very inward, it's an inward process, right? That's the thing with when any planet goes retrograde, it brings us back in. And that's a good thing. That's an excellent way to learn about yourself, learn healthier boundaries, establish and deepen your spiritual practice and your art, you know, in whatever your art is, whether it's cooking, cleaning, making more beauty in your life, music, any type of art, or devotion, you know, meditation, anything that you may do that brings in more bliss is definitely on the table with all of these aspects going on here between Neptune and Pisces and Jupiter and Taurus. Yeah, definitely. So then with the sun, you know, moving, or Mercury moving closer and closer to the sun, because Mercury moves pretty darn quick, we really do want to grow. There's some control here. I mean, it is cardinal energy, but it's moving forward. See, that's the difference between, with Aries, it's more instinctual and you just go and then it's like, oh, I did it. Whoa, okay. But it can be perfect. And then with Cancer energy, there's so it's funny, like Aries is ruled by Mars, so it can just go like, you know, like one step forward, and then Cancer comes along. By the time, you know, you've got that energy going on, Cancer can kind of go side to side. So it can be, you know, one step forward, two steps back, and then Cancer's like, over here, trying to figure, okay, now which way do I go? Well, Cancer will always go towards growth and towards, if it's combined with Aries, independence. And it will, but most of all, Cancer will be thinking along the lines of what can protect us in the long term, or what makes our home base function more effective, more, well, where there's more control and maybe where things are more simple, hopefully. Now, not everybody works within that, you know, and clutter is definitely a form of trauma. And hoarding things is definitely, you know, it comes from trauma as well. So maybe things like that will be healing, and that's especially true with the inconjunct coming here from Pluto, because Pluto in Capricorn is, you know, at that anaretic degree, it really wants to get things in control, so that things can function. So you've got something stable to work from. And we have the Taurus energy here. The moon had just gone through Virgo. So, and Mars and Venus, they're moving towards Virgo. That won't be too long. Venus is going to go retrograde though, later on in July. So there's that. In fact, it's probably just like working into the shadow degrees. I'll look at that later. We still have plenty of time, but yeah. So with the moon here opposing Chiron in this applying opposition, there could be a breakthrough if you're trying to work through issues like me versus the other, and it's a good time to find where you really stand without, you know, pushing your loved ones away, but making the choice. Because, when it comes down to it, Libra is going to need to make a decision. And as long as you're out of that, what is that old saying with Libra? Oh, it's something to do with like peace. Oh, peace at any price. As long as you've healed that and you're not giving yourself away, you're going to be just fine. But these two can help. This polarity here can really help make some decisions that are maybe instinctually aligned with some good timing. So let's see. That's it. I think I'm going to go ahead and move forward because I've spoken about everything else. So for Tuesday, the moon is in that exact opposition that I was speaking to. That happens at 6:30 in the morning. And so everything I just spoke to is, now we will be dealing with it this morning. And there's also the inconjunct to that's applying, so we're going to be building even more with this adjustment because of some breakthrough. And again, back to the inconjunct going on here, the quincunx here, the adjustment made from powerful Pluto to Mercury in Cancer, where we're all talking about, well, what about safety? If we're talking about Trump and the classified documents and all of the awful things that have come through. Hold on. as to how we have damaged our relationship with our allies, and maybe something comes out on the news of someone that well, see, that's the thing is, when it comes to confidential intelligence, they can't say what's happened because it gives things away, right? But yeah, some things might come out, they just won't be naming names, I think. So let's see, what else with the moon here? Notice that we have this double sextile from, there's a lot today. Double sextile from the moon to Mars and Venus. So something's going to be coming out. I really do feel like news will be coming out that has to do with safety, that has to do with security, that has to do with controlling things in the future. And notice, the moon and the sun Mercury and the sun are together in that we now have Mercury that has entered the equation of this grand water trine. So it's all about safety and not being victimized by the people like Trump, right? So I think that the GQP will be doing themselves in based on the silly things that they're doing. They're trying to, they did already censure Adam Schiff. I don't think it's going to really matter. But it just shows you where they're going. And the whole Durham, investigation, that guy got his ass handed to him. He got the big old whoop upside the head with just basic facts that he obviously didn't know. He doesn't watch the news, he says, things like that. It's ridiculous. So anyway, yeah. And then the other thing that what's his name? Eastman, that guy, he's the other thing that came out on the news this morning I saw it. So in California, he might lose his, he's being investigated. He very well may lose his his ability to practice law in the state of California. So, yeah. I sure would have liked to seen that happen to Bill Barr. Maybe in the future that'll happen. But anyway, okay, so back to us. Again, the moon is still in this opposition to Chiron. Of course, because we haven't gone that many hours. We went from about 5 something, what was it? 5, about 5:30 last night to 6, almost 6:30 in the morning. No difference there, but as it cooks forward, the moon will be opposing Eris, and then the courage coming through, man. And the moon is she's cooking her way to the south node. So again, the spotlight coming from the public to expose the past. If there's any day for some more dirt to come out, I would venture to guess it's between Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Yeah, there's that real possibility there. But for us, it's good for clearing up the past. It's good for setting boundaries and bringing in stronger relationships because we're connected that way. And then also notice how Neptune there is still square Mercury like it was, first thing in the beginning of the week on Sunday. We started out with that. So the sunlight will be shining its light, the spotlight, and Mercury news will be coming out as to who was not, who's been trying to hide and gaslight us and pull the wool over our eyes, and so they're going to be in quite some bit of attention field. Now, for us personally, if you have someone in your life who's been lying, and now I wouldn't say that everyone with Mercury square Neptune in their charts would be liars. No, it can be that someone in your past life was a liar or pulled the wool over your eyes, or you just didn't see them clearly. And how many of us could say that that's probably the case? Yeah. So, but anyway, for us now moving forward at our elderly years, and we're wiser, we can have conversations, and discrepancies can come out and make you go, well, that's interesting. Wonder what that's about. And it's good to make use of it this month because it won't be long before Mercury hits. It'll be just like I think around July 11th or so. Mercury will hit Leo. So this is a good time to get things straight as to who you want in connection with the foundation of your life and the four walls that you live in, or who you would allow to visit the four walls that you live in because you feel safe with them. It's all about safety and security when it comes to Cancer, because without safety, speaking to Taurus as well, without safety, security, you don't have stability, and then you can't grow. So this is all about what can we grow, what foundation is there that we can grow upon, and how do we make those foundations strong so that we can continue to grow. So yeah, let's see, anything else? The moon, it's at this tip of this aspect of the architect. Yeah, so heart connections, expressing ourselves, and the people that we trust, we share our wounding with, and we're fine with it, and they help us work through things, and they mirror back our beauty and our love. There's that connection there of opening up to people that you trust, and vice versa, and then from there's some real healing. Yeah, sometimes we just need a witness. Okay, then Wednesday, 5:23 a.m., the moon exactly hits the south node. So this is an excellent morning for taking notes when you wake up from dream time. Write it down or voice record it, voice memo, whatever it is. Say or write what you got in dream time, because this is a fantastic connection. The south node of the past will give you glimpses into past lifetimes. If you're having a session with a past life therapist or a reader of any type that's good, you may, something may come through for you. This would be an excellent day to do that. Or even, the Tuesday before. And then there's that ability to have that strong spiritual foundation that comes through. When we're talking about politics, there's that very real possibility that something comes out on the news, because remember, Mercury's the messenger, Mercury's the news. The moon is also revealing something from the public. as to what happened in the past. And it could be that someone throws someone else under the bus. Gee, I wonder who that might be, right? Yeah, because that's what happens, is that when these people are coming from darkness, it's they eventually just kind of eat themselves. They eat each other up. It's like Bobert and what's her name, Empty G, fighting about who's going to impeach who's going to impeach Biden first. Like, what? They don't have anything to stand on. They're just a bunch of stumps. But that is exactly what we may be seeing. And yeah, we'll see how that plays out if that's the case. They're certainly threatening. So, and notice that the moon here is also opposing the south node, or I'm sorry, the north node. So there's another, and then eventually it'll be opposing Jupiter. So yeah, I do think that there could be something that comes through on the news about trying to impeach Joe Biden. It's like, what a joke. But this is probably not the direction that most of the voters want to go in, right? Like, who wants to pay for these people? I mean, we're talking taxpayers' dollars that could go to build something instead of try and take down something that a man who's been trying to build things for the last 2 years, right? I mean, that's just crazy. So, but personally, like I said, it's very good for doing spiritual work, very, very good for doing, for building things with your family and loved ones, or just a strong, spiritual foundation for yourself. And, well, not just, I mean, that's like the most important thing there is. Other than that, we do have these little semi-squares here. So there's some action, I think, that's going to be, because you're going to be bugged if you don't go in the right direction, and you're going to start taking action to get going that way. And the Mars and Venus, notice how Venus is moving closer to the square, to Uranus. So yeah, so relationships are shifting, movement is guaranteed, and decisions are being made. And we are deciding on who we want to join forces with or break away from. Okay, I'm going to move forward. So then Thursday, the sun is trining Saturn exactly. So this is excellent for, and this has been building up, and now this is the day where it's exact at 6:36 p.m. Wednesday, and this is that building. When you've got a sun trine Saturn, you have something solid, because Saturn is, it's fortified. It's there's something that we've learned by this point, and we're mastering it in our lives. Saturn is the teacher. It helps us to master things in our lives. And then notice the kite configuration going on here that this is all a part of. We've got the kite here, and it's pointing towards Jupiter. Saturn sextile Jupiter, like I spoke about earlier. Look at that. That's fantastic. So at the point, we're moving towards expanding safely. And maybe with Uranus and Taurus, there's some new invention that comes through that helps us to move forward with this square here. Because squares, they're tension fields, but they're not bad because they help you build something. It's like, I want this here, and I'm going to try to get here. How do I get there in between, right? And it's like steering. So with the moon and the south node at the tail of this kite, I think by this time Wednesday night, I think we know where we're headed and who we're going with, or we're at least knowing what we want, because when it comes to Scorpio energy, Scorpio wants to commit, but only to things and people and places that we trust. And it can be pretty intense, because we go through crisis with Scorpio. We go through periods of figuring things out. And it's also the sign of secret. So there could be something that comes out into the public that was secret. Man, what a news week. And to have the moon involved in this grand water trine is fantastic. It's really good for us in our deep work, and it's really good for bringing out the truth, through the news. Okay, so then Thursday, June 29th, 1:19 a.m., Venus over here trines Chiron. Notice how Chiron's at 1942 exactly. So now Venus in this exact trine, it's been building, right? But Venus is with Leo, coming from the place of expressing our unique identity and having a lot of self-confidence within. It's so good for courage, and it's good for working with children. The only thing the downside of Leo can be narcissists and people who don't like, people go into reaction because they're not being recognized. But with the trine to Chiron, if that's what's happening, then that's the perfect time to heal it. There's the opening there to heal it, because Mars is there in Leo saying, oh, hey, don't worry about them. Let's just go. Let's just move on. Let's just do our own thing. Get down with your own self and let it go. And then the moon's up here, trining Saturn. It's still in that. It's that separating trine, and it's still down here in this connection to Mercury. And as it moves, south node still to the sun. Yeah, it's pretty much a repeat of yesterday, but with the added focus of you're probably not afraid to express yourself, and if you're not seen and heard and recognized or understood the way you want to be, you're probably going to just be okay with it, because it goes back to that old rule that here on this planet of duality, if we are met in who we truly are 50% of the time, we're doing great. And the other half, the time is like we just have to let that go, because we have to accept that we are here on a planet of duality, which means we're not going to ever get what we want all the time. But we expect to, because in our spirits we have that power, right? Okay, now Friday, this is an event here, 2:07 p.m., June 30th, Neptune retrogrades. So when we have Neptune retrograding, we are going to be going much, much more inward in order to find our source within, to find ourselves, to really make that commitment to dissolve any. I'm going to use some keywords around Neptune. It dissolves. It helps us to be more sensitive. It helps us to rise above things that used to hold us back. It can be very inviting is a good word, I guess. It helps us with our longings. It helps us really get inside of our longings. It's really, really good for our spirituality and our creativity coming from who we truly are within. But it's not linked to anything with boundaries. So, but it's okay, because we have this Jupiter and Taurus helping us, to ground, and Pluto's in Capricorn, of course, in that very powerful degree of 29 degrees, helping us to ground. And with the moon here, setting the whole thing off. Because Moon and Neptune are definitely connected. The moon in Sag is very directionally focused. With Sag, we're going towards something that is much more freeing. we're speaking up. We're having more, because Sag is ruled by Jupiter, so we're having more faith in ourselves. We are finally ready to really believe in ourselves. And wherever we've made, mistakes in the past or gone in the wrong direction, we're going to figure those things out. As long as we don't get, because with this trine to the moon, we have to be careful here with addictions. We have to be careful with numbing out. We're going to be more sensitive than we ever were. And so if you're using any, recreational things to help with pain, you're probably going to need less. And so be careful. And if you do use whatever, something to take care of pain management, I guess is the way to say it. What I would do is to take notes, to have a little book and take notes as to how much you took and when. Because there's a possibility with this, transit that you forget that you already took it and you're hurting and you don't know why. But maybe there's some other adjustment that can be made. And so there's a real need for tracking your medications. And that goes true, that also would be true for, allopathic medicine. That wouldn't be, other things that used to be recreational are now legal, so anything that manages pain, that you use to manage pain, that you take in, we're going to need to be more careful because we're going to be more sensitive. So, and then if we're stuck in, on an outright addiction, this is the time to master it. This is the time to replace it with something healthier. And this is the time to have a new vision for your life. It's going to be a really, really, really good time for all arts. Neptune rules film. Pisces is its natural ruler. So those things are really, really nice. Now, let's see, the Saturn retrograde in Pisces, that goes through to November 4th. And there's those inner shifts that can affect, our outer reality. And with that connection here to the Sun and Mercury, that's really profound there. So the ability to alter your outer world through your inner shifting of paradigms, that internal focus to do your inner work is heightened at this time. Let's see, I don't think I got a date. I have to look that up later because I don't know yet how long Neptune is retrograde. I do remember, let's see, because we can see that Neptune's going to go closer towards Saturn, and eventually Saturn will stop being retrograde and then it'll move towards Neptune. And we're going to have that conjunction, which is about, building a spiritually sourced structure in your life. And that, I do have my notes over here that we'll have that in the spring of 2024, and it will peak in 2025 and 2026. So we've got quite some time to build those structures together. Like anybody that has Saturn, Neptune conjunct in their natal charts are good at building structure from a vision. So we're all going to have that opportunity, whether you have it natally or not. And Saturn, of course, is all about being human. And with this sojourn in Pisces, it's going to be about, mostly having compassion for yourself and for others. Let's see. I think that's it for this, and then I'll get those dates later on. I'll leave this chart out so you can get the dates to see how long the Neptune retrogradation lasts. Usually, though, this is the key thing here, is Neptune takes 164 to 65 years to get all the way around the zodiac, and it'll stay in one sign usually 14 years. So, this is it's a really important transit just to, remember that it's about our interconnectedness and our compassion for each other and our spirituality and all things mystical. uh, but setting off this chart with the moon, or this retrogradation process, to have the moon in Sag, setting that off and squaring Saturn, definitely it's directionally focused on our spiritual path. So those people who are in positions of power in politics, and judges who are in positions of power over the courts, if they're not working for the will of the people, if they're not working for what is good for the people, which is, their job, there will be some falls from what they thought was grace. But when you're a dirty, corrupt person like that, there's no grace. There's only lessons to come through. Okay. Oh, I did get it. I did run the chart. I forgot. Okay. So when Neptune goes direct, it'll be December 6th. Okay, 5:23 in the morning. And let's see what's going on with this chart. Oh, there's the inconjunct to the South Node, and we can see that by then the South Node will be in Libra. So relationships, adjustments in relationships. When Neptune goes direct, there will be adjustments coming from relationships, making adjustments to the realm of relationship. And, I always look at Libra as being the bridge. So there's a bridge to the past. Venus is in Scorpio by then. Oh, I can only imagine what is cooked up. The Sun is conjunct Mars. Sun and Mars are traveling together in Sag, of course, that time of the year. Yeah, so there's a lot of directional focus. So I think it's what I was just saying at the end of, this chart, is that because Sag is ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter rules the courts. And we have man-made law and we have spiritual law. But if man-made law isn't in alignment with spiritual law, adjustments will need to occur. And that could be very challenging for some dirty judges that need to... Or maybe there'll be some expansion. Another thing that could happen, because they keep working on it. Senator Markey, and I think he's in Boston, he's in Massachusetts, and there's been some others. So it's happened a couple of times already. They keep trying to introduce this to raise SCOTUS on the bench, to raise it to 13, because we have 13 circuits, and there was at one time when we had it at 10, but there's no reason for it to be stuck at 9. So we need to shift that. And meanwhile, Biden has put 100 Democratic judges in the lower courts already, so that's helpful. And plus, he did get Ketanji Brown Jackson in SCOTUS for us. So anyway, Neptune stationing direct, the moon in Virgo, opposing Saturn, and Saturn will be direct by then as well. The inconjunct there. There's some adjustment to divine order, or what was ordered, and now I feel like there's some the will of the people's coming through. And Pluto is not retrograde anymore. It's going back, but it's still in Capricorn, and then it'll start going forward into Aquarius, and and then we'll have that happening. It goes direct, I think, October 11th, and but it won't be in Aquarius to stay until January 21st, 2024. So, yeah. No, actually not. It'll re-enter Aquarius. It will make it from here to 0 degrees Aquarius, January 21st. Sorry about that. And it won't enter Aquarius to stay until November 19th, 2024. So that's an important date on our calendars. And notice it will come right after the 2024 election. The power of the people. Yeah. So What else? I'll just save this and not go into it too much more now because this is already, I'm way late with this one. Let's see, is there anything else? Any other surprises down here? Yeah, Saturday. Okay, I'm going to save these two over here. Okay. All right, so Saturday, thank you if you're still with me. And I'll get those timestamps in on over the weekend or Sunday, probably Sunday or Monday. Oh, it'll be Monday. Anyway, July 1st, Saturday, 5 a.m. The moon's in Sag, so we are probably thinking about plans, travel plans, maybe even we may be wanting to speak up. We might be wanting to be more free. There's some freedom going on there, but there's this adjustment or this action that needs to be taken. It could be that now that we know something, by the time the moon hits this point where we have this semi-square there to Pluto, we may be feeling that, okay, I know where I want to go, and maybe I know who I want to go with, or maybe I'm just going by myself, but I'm going. And that's especially true because the moon has already been squaring Saturn. And yeah, that's the thing. When you get on your spiritual path, you are going to lose people. You are going to lose you are going to lose connections with people who are not on that same quest that you are. But it's okay because you can't go backwards, and you have to absolutely do your own thing. And then notice that the Mercury has now moved over the Sun, right? Just a little bit, not much, but there's still that connection. And then again back to Saturn in Pisces, and back to, if you're having your second Saturn return, this trine here from the Sun and Mercury it's helping. It's actually really helping to grow in a deeper way. And again, like I said in the beginning, remember who you are. That's always there and has always been there. And it's not about becoming something that you're not. It's about releasing releasing all the beauty and truth and love and wisdom and peacefulness that's already you. It's already there. It's about clearing out the debris that's on top of the spirit. So let's see, what else? With Saturday, the moon is trining Chiron. Yeah, so there's opportunity Saturday for working with your deeper gifts and just naturally releasing them. There's some timing and direction here that's actually really good, and will be throughout the rest of the day, because this is an applying trine. And you can see that we've lost that one leg of the Grand Water Trine, but that's okay. That's no big deal. Let's see. Everything's the same there. Yeah, I think this is it. I think it's just to know that Saturday's a really good day to focus directionally on the way you want to go. And there might be a lot of communication about it, though, but more with like close loved ones, they won't be surface. With this, all of these configurations, these aspects here, our conversations nowadays are not so surface oriented. They're deeper, right? They're just deeper because there's more courage coming through to just speak up and say whatever you were thinking about, and being your real authentic self. Especially with Mars and Venus here in these later degrees. Yeah. And look how Venus is still in that exact square. Yeah. So, okay, I feel complete. And I just want to say thanks for hanging in there with me. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I'll be back soon. Okay, you guys, take good care.